In the past 2 videos, I've been talking about the condition of the American church to which we all belong. There's one more subject that should be addressed along these lines, and that is the fact that in America, to be an evangelical is nearly synonymous with being a conservative. During the late 90s, I was invited to join an intimate meeting with a group of some of the leading Christian activists in our nation. I love our country, and I so appreciate these folks fighting to restore America back to a time when civility and decency ruled the social landscape. Yet at the same time, what was burning in my heart was deeper than the political causes they were championing. I shared my feelings that the greater need is for our nation to experience spiritual revival. After I finished my little rant, Janet Folger Porter sort of rebuked me by telling me how she had seen patriotic Americans with tears running down their cheeks as they committed themselves to the restoration of traditional values. That was her idea of the revival our nation needs. It shouldn't surprise us that so many people equate Christianity with conservatism. Believers and conservatives hold many things in common. Both groups oppose abortion rights, the homosexual agenda, globalism, and the rest of the liberal platform. Indeed, the 2 groups seem to be forever joined at the hip. This merger is now so complete that, for most Americans, to see one is to see the other. But I can't help but wonder if Christians are overlooking something that is amiss here. Do we really believe that the Conservative Party and the Kingdom of God are so in sync that men like Rush Limbaugh, Donald Trump, and Sean Hannity should shape the Christian worldview as much, if not more, than godly leaders in the church? Are we really certain that our constitutional rights, economic stability, and border safety is as important to God as it is to us? I realize that I've just hit on some really hot-button issues. My point isn't to take a side here, but to cause us to carefully question the easy assumption that the goals of the Conservative Party are one and the same with the aims of the Kingdom of God. Maybe we should be asking ourselves how our spiritual life has been affected by our involvement with the conservative cause. In his book, The Religion of American Greatness: What's Wrong with Christian Nationalism?, Paul Miller takes issue with this blending of 2 belief systems and argues that they should remain detached and exclusive from each other. He says that the interest of those committed to Christian nationalism is in, quote, the inherited norms, values, and habits of American Christian heritage, more than a living Christian faith. For the Christian nationalists, then, the main point of sanctification becomes safeguarding the nation, not honoring God by emulating His character. In other words, the motivation and purpose for godly living becomes enmeshed with the desire to preserve our American way of life. Miller goes on to say that these belief systems should be separate, rival, mutually exclusive religions. They make fundamentally incommensurable claims on human loyalty. In its ideal type, you can either be a Christian nationalist or you can be a Christian. You cannot be both. Wow, I really think he's on to something here. Another Christian thinker who takes exception to this mixture of these movements is Brian Zand, who wrote a book entitled Postcards from Babylon. He makes the point that the U.S. is not a rebirth of biblical Israel. It's actually closer to being a kind of biblical Babylon. He says Jews living in Babylon were literal exiles, a diaspora living in a foreign land. Today, Christians are metaphorical exiles within the modern empire of America. But most do not see themselves as exiles. Most fail to see American culture as something we need to come out of. Instead of coming out of an American culture built on consumerism and militarism and being the church, many Christians are attempting to return to a mythical past where they imagine America as kind of a new Israel. All of this is tragically mistaken. Until we see America as a kind of new Babylon instead of a kind of new Israel, it will be exceedingly difficult, if not impossible, for Christians to faithfully embody the holy otherness of the kingdom of Christ. This needs to be made clear, he contends. America is not an extension of the kingdom of Christ. America is a continuation of Babylon. America may or may not be a gentler, kinder Babylon, but it's a Babylon nonetheless. Of course, Zan's taking a broader sweep of the American lifestyle than mere involvement with the conservative cause. But nevertheless, he's making an important point about our tendency to equate Americanism with Christianity. I must remind myself that I've been called to an eternal kingdom, not to a political system that is part of the temporal realm of earth life. I've been called to be a follower of Jesus Christ, not a political groupie of Donald Trump. I've been called to live a life of sacrifice, not the life of financial gain the conservative cause promotes. I, for one, do not fault the conservatives for their fight for traditional values and would love to see them succeed in their great battle. But I cannot fall in line with the belief that a return to traditional values will save America. I believe there is something deeper and more important than such nationalism. It is the kingdom of God. If Christians were living up to the ideals laid down by Jesus Christ, I believe a movement would be unleashed in the U.S. that would be so powerful that tens of thousands would be swept into God's kingdom. I'm grateful to be a citizen of the United States. With the exception of a brief period of Israel's existence, it's the greatest nation that's ever been on earth. But the primary devotion of my heart is not to a geopolitical location, and it's not to any such social causes. My devotion is to Jesus Christ, for it is His kingdom that will endure forever.